man, just when I thought it was safe to take a day off, Nintendo drops a bombshell that they've licensed Zelda to Brave Yourself Games, the developers of Crypt of the Necrodancer, a roguelike rhythm game that's sort of like a dungeon crawler puzzle game, but all to the beat of the music. And now, as a follow-up to Crypt of the Necrodancer, we're getting Cadence of Hyrule, a spin-off Zelda game where Cadence, the main character from Necrodancer, quests through Hyrule with the help of Link and Zelda. Now, I've never played Crypt of the Necrodancer. It looks awesome, and I'll definitely have to make it the next game on my list, but as of now, I know basically nothing about it. But what I do know is Zelda, and there's a whole lot of Zelda to unpack in this short trailer. So let's go through the trailer and point out any Zelda references, characters, items, or whatever else. First off, this game seems to be mainly based on A Link to the Past, though the music that plays throughout is a remix of Telltale Heights from Link's Awakening.
It looks like I've got work to do. And this time, I have help!
Although that's obviously just a remix of the main Zelda theme. So straight away, Cadence mines through a wall into a large open room featuring a Stalfos, the classic Zelda enemy that's been appearing in Zelda games all the way back from the first one. She knocks its shield away and kills it, causing it to poof into a skull-shaped cloud, which actually is the case for a load of Zelda enemies in the series when you kill them. We get a little transition up into a forest where things are starting to look a little bit more Zelda-like. We've got the trees from A Link to the Past, choo-choos in what looks like a mix of their Breath of the Wild and Skyward Sword designs, classic Zelda grass, and a large building with some sort of glowing blue eye on it. Up in the top right there's a stone slab with the Sheikah eye on it. Perhaps this is a gossip stone, the Sheikah artifacts that have appeared in a few games in the series, giving tips and clues to Link. Next up, Cadence opens a double door underground into a shop, which appears to be selling something we can't see inside a chest, as well as iron boots and the bow, as well as a bunch of Zelda-like pots decorating the sides of the room. There are also a few shovels on racks, which have appeared in a few Zelda games, though I don't know if these are actually referencing Zelda, or if they're just, well, shovels. But I mean, and call me crazy if you want, but does this shovel look like the Master Sword to anyone else? The turquoise handle and the blue head? I don't know, maybe I'm seeing things, but this looks like a Master Shovel to me. The doors she opens to enter the shop have a golden rupee on the front, which is usually the most valuable rupee in a Zelda game. A nice little icon for a shop to have. Next, Cadence hits a choo-choo with her sword, causing it to split into two smaller choo-choos, just like how they act in Breath of the Wild and a few other Zelda games. There are also a few mushroom-like enemies around, which could be Puffstools, the spore-spouting toadstool enemies from the Minish Cap, but I'm not sure. They could also be ZREO, small mushroom enemies from a few Zelda games, though they usually have wings. They come in different colours, as we see a blue one with a red cap later on. Cadence also kills a Peahat, or what I'd assume to be a Peahat, but could also be a Pesto, a little fly-like enemy from the Minish Cap. In this spooky marsh-like swamp, we can see a bee, as well as what's probably a Wolfos, a Poe, and what could be an Octorok, though it just looks like a normal octopus here. Moving on, we've got some strange structure in the desert, and we can see a lever, a Tektite, a vulture, as well as what could be an Armos next to another Gossip Stone, or perhaps an Igor. However, the Zelda enemy it reminds me the most of is actually the Iron Knuckle, an armoured foe from Zelda 2 and the Nintendo 64 games, which has the same strange eye holes in its helmet. We actually see the interior of this building later, and I think there's a good chance that it's the Eastern Palace, or a reference to it, the second dungeon from A Link to the Past, which is a dungeon located in the far east of Hyrule in a rocky canyon. And in a really cool looking shot, a lone dark nut guarding the entrance to some sort of castle, again next to a Gossip Stone. This building's got a lot of huge fans, as well as a lightning symbol on the door and on the statues outside, so perhaps this is some sort of wind dungeon and the fans will create puzzles inside. As the main Zelda theme kicks in, or rather the main Zelda part of the Telltale Heights remix that's playing in the background, an armoured Stalfos walks into shot, followed by two more Stalfos on Stal horses. Next up, one of my all-time favourite Zelda bosses makes a return, Gleeok from Zelda 1 and Oracle of Seasons. It's crazy that just last week I dropped a video talking about classic Zelda enemies I'd want to return, check that out if you haven't already, and mentioned Gleeok, and here we are 4 days later with it returning in an admittedly non-canon Zelda game. Gleeok usually is killed by cutting its heads off, which often fly around the room then and continue to attack you, so I wonder if this is how you'll beat it in this game. Gleeok's design has changed a little to represent the rhythm game nature of Cadence of Hyrule. I actually think he's designed to look like a xylophone, with the plates on his back as the keys and his tail as the mallet. It's awesome to see him return to the series. And here we are, we get Cadence, Princess Zelda and Link all together in one shot. Link's obviously wielding the Hylian shield, which interestingly the hero of legend from A Link to the Past, which this game seems to be referencing, never uses. He's not got the Master Sword to accompany it, instead a basic sword with a brown hilt, which does seem similar to artwork of the basic sword from Link's Awakening. Zelda appears in her A Link to the Past design wielding some sort of magic. And here we see our boy in action in a room with a like, which are enemies that are famous for chewing Link's shield up, a Stalfos, 2 green bokoblins, a pink Choo-Choo and a Wizrobe, the mages of the Zelda universe. There's also a Beamos in the corner, which are turrets which can fire thin, powerful laser beams at Link. We then see Zelda in the rain with a red and blue bokoblin. She then kills them with some sort of blue sword with a red gem, and both of them drop blue rupees, which conventionally are worth 5 green rupees each. Zelda then is seen facing a Lynel, the powerful half-lion half-centaur enemies introduced in Zelda 1 and then recently revamped in Breath of the Wild, who shoots an arrow at her, but she defends herself with a blue crystal. This blue crystal is Nehru's Love, a spell given to Link by a great fairy in Ocarina of Time which protects him from any and all damage he would take. Nehru is the goddess of wisdom in the Zelda series, a trait most closely associated with Zelda, so it's neat to see her use Nehru's Love to defend herself like she can do in Smash Bros. In this room there's also another Wolfos as well as another one of these mushroom guys. Zelda kills the Lynel with a spear, which does at least 2 hearts worth of damage, and the Wolfos as well for good measure. We then see Link outside what appears to be Hyrule Castle, using the bow to take on a ball and chain soldier from afar. These guys are classic Zelda enemies, famously appearing throughout a load of the 2D Zeldas, including A Link to the Past. 2 arrows deal with him before he can get close enough to use his weapon however. We see yet another Gossip Stone, which this time is lit up in the classic Sheikah blue of Sheikah technology we see in Breath of the Wild, similar to the blue found on ancient technology in Skyward Sword, which perhaps means Link's activated it somehow. At the bottom of the screen, next to what could be a statue of perhaps the goddess Hylia, we see a green soldier, again a classic A Link to the Past enemy. Here we have Zelda in a swamp next to an army of bokoblins, a load of red ones seemingly being led by the blue. This in itself is a reference. Blue bokoblins are the second tier of bokoblins, with red being the weakest, and one blue bokoblin often leads a pack of red ones. She uses this magic we saw in her introduction earlier to wipe out a load of the enemies. I actually think this could be Din's Fire, another magic spell from Ocarina of Time. Whatever it is though, it causes the dead bokoblins to drop a green rupee and a heart. Here we can see a green soldier with a bow, 2 blue soldiers, one with a sword and shield and another with a bow, and a ball and chain soldier to the right. He kills the 2 soldiers closest to him with a spin attack with, there it is, the Master Sword. And in the final shot of the trailer, we see Zelda taking on a classic A Link to the Past boss with a twist. It's the Armos Knights, the bosses of the Eastern Palace, but fittingly for a rhythm-based game they're all equipped with electric guitars rather than the normal sword and shield. We can see the same metal girder-like design in the background from the weird desert building earlier, making me think that this building is a reference to the Eastern Palace, where the Armos Knights were the boss. The trailer then ends with another A Link to the Past reference. The Triforce comes together like it does before the title screen of the SNES classic. It then shows the game's logo, Cadence of Hyrule. The logo features a golden instrument which looks like a lute, clouded in some sort of purple fog, which I'm sure the game's story will shine some light on. Just when editing this, I've noticed that on the Nintendo website we get a few more details about the game, like confirmation that the worlds and even the dungeons are procedurally generated, so they'll never be the same twice. As well as this, the website mentions that Hyrule's most wicked bosses have been transformed by magic into new mighty forms, which I'd guess are the musical transformations we saw with Gleeok the Xylophone Dragon and the Electric Guitarmos Knights. As well as this, if you like the Telltale Heights remix from the trailer, we've got 24 more banging Zelda remixes coming our way. So there you go, a little analysis of all the Zelda content I could find in the first trailer for Cadence of Hyrule. I'm actually so excited for this. Hyrule Warriors really isn't my cup of tea, so I'm looking forward to a different Zelda spin-off to tide me over until Link's Awakening drops at the end of the year. So what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts on the Cadence of Hyrule in the comments below. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.